Hey Ghosts, I've wanted to make this video for quite a while, but now that Ghost Recon's 25th anniversary is gone, I think this is a good time to talk about this. This video is an open letter to Creative House 2 at Ubisoft, who are working on Ghost Recon project over and for the future games. Why am I making this video? Modern Ghost Recon games are in severe decay because of severe casual elements that have drained this franchise from its squad-based tactical identity, and there are few to none YouTubers who are making these videos. We do have the Ghost Recon Insider program, but there's only one person that I know who is on that program to give the direction this franchise needs. I don't have faith in any of them. In making this video, I want to briefly outline Ubisoft's reluctance to bring Ghost Recon back to its tactical roots and why that's needed in future games. The current Ghost Recon player base are subsequently a part of the issue because they convey their desire for Ghost Recon to remain arcade action-adventure games and less like their early games, which were squad-based tactical shooters that were grounded in realism. Section 1. Does Ubisoft have an issue with realism? Short answer yes, and I am going to show you the evidence. Article 1 from VG247, posted on July 7, 2011, titled, Ghost Recon must balance hardcore demand and commercial needs. The article reads, Ubisoft can't cater solely to the super hardcore Ghost Recon fan, instead bowing to commercial reality. It's the balance these days with the rising costs of development. It puts real pressure on us to make sure that we strike that balance between the creative and the commercial. Ubisoft's UK brand manager Matt Benson told OXM, there's always going to be that hardcore player. There's always going to be super hardcore players, and you're never going to keep them happy. They're just going to want the first Ghost Recon on first gen Xbox, and they're going to want to be lying on the ground, camoed up, waiting 10 minutes for a guard to walk all the way back round and then pop him. And that's fine, but in terms of where we are right now as an industry, there are commercial needs that need to be met in order for us to make the game in the first place. That's the balance you've got to strike. And that doesn't mean dumbing down. Although obviously the net is very quick to say, oh, they're dumbing down Splinter Cell, they're dumbing down this, they're dumbing that. That's the end of the article, and Mr. Matt Benson clearly shows that due to the wide commercial market, Ubisoft believed dumbing down the franchise needed to occur. So I completely disagree with his position, because Ghost Recon 2 on console was drastically dumbed down from Ghost Recon 1 on PC. Later in this video, I'm going to prove that retaining hardcore elements of a game doesn't merely keep a certain player base satisfied, but it's commercially viable. Article 2, from Games Industry, posted on the 14th of March 2008. The article reads, Ubisoft will likely steer clear of hardcore shooters because the market is too narrow for it to be a viable business choice, said Rainbow Six Vegas 2 game designer Phil Therian. We have some ideas to improve on the situation though. Keep in mind, however, that we want our games to be accessible to as many people as possible. Otherwise, we just couldn't keep making games. Since 2008, Ubisoft has shown that players are too dumb to learn new systems, mechanics, and skills in order to play a game well. They expect you to apply the same way of playing arcade games like Grand Theft Auto and just complete their modern Ghost Recon games without developing your skill. Article 3 from Kotaku, posted on the 14th of March 2012, titled, Christian Allen wants your money to make a great old-school shooter that publishers don't think you want. The article reads, Allen wants to make a shooter, an old-school tactical shooter, first-person or third, like he used to develop at Red Storm, a game like the old Rainbow Six or Ghost Recon. The biggest thing is tension. You've been given a scenario, it's non-linear. You've made decisions on where to go, where to place your guys, getting ready to go in. You don't know what's in there. A real team doesn't always know where everything is. There's only a few enemies, but you don't know where they are. If they get the drop on you, they're going to kill you. There is an element of reflex to it, but a lot of it is just proper planning and observation and figuring out your situation. But even if you do everything right, it doesn't mean you are going to succeed. And what happened when he pitched his tactical shooter to publishers? Mind you, he was one of the top designers on Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter and Halo Reach. The pitch hasn't gone so well. It's like pitching a flight sim, Allen says. And the publishers rattle off the excuses. It's a super vocal audience. They don't buy a lot of games. They buy one game a year. Console gamers are too impatient. They won't play this kind of game. Console gamers literally are too dumb to play this kind of game. Wait, did you catch that one? Console gamers literally are too dumb to play this kind of game. Really, Alan said. I won't say which publisher, but yes, literally. Console gamers are not as smart as PC gamers. The logic is that, while PC gamers can install drivers and video cards, console gamers are just 15-year-olds who sit in front of their couch and press a button. I'll end this article here. It's pretty obvious that the publisher Alan was speaking about is very likely to be Ubisoft. Off the record, I believe it was Ubisoft allegedly. Don't sue me, Ubisoft. This AAA studio believes making their games intentionally easier and accessible is important to boost sales, and because this audience are too dumb to be patient in a tactical shooter, to learn new tactics, deal with real felt stress in intense situations. This type of gamer, they believe, are too dumb. I hope you can get a clearer picture of what I'm trying to convey. This franchise went from a hardcore squad-based tactical shooter to an arcade action-adventure Grand Theft Auto clone. Section 2 of this open letter. Ubisoft is wrong about realism. Audiences crave challenges. In this infographic, I made this chart just before the release of the Last Right Ghost Recon Wildlands DLC. You will see that historically, Ghost Recon Wildlands and Breakpoint have been under 2,000 for a very long time. Ghost Recon once shared the tactical space with games like Arma before it turned into an open-world, accessible casual game. But games like Arma Reforger have a daily count of around 17,000 players per day. Military simulator games like Squad bring in 16,000 players per day. And you can see the number count for Ready or Not, Hell Let Loose. Even an old game like Arma 3 sits around just under 10,000 players. Now let's move on to the hardcore extraction shooters like Escape from Tarkov and Arena Infinite Breakout. Both games sit in the low to middle 30,000. Despite the lack of realism in Rainbow Six Siege due to some of the gadgets, season themes, and lack of Tier 1 operator culture, there is still a higher level of challenge, difficulty, and realism that it contains in contrast to Ghost Recon Wildlands and Breakpoint. It sits around 70,000 players for its 24-hour peak when I caught this data. You can apply this same method and look at games like the Souls genre, Elden Ring, and Sekiro. Gamers love challenging situations that enable them to problem solve. When they do problem solve, their dopamine hit is much higher than easy situations found in a game like Ghost Recon Wildlands or Breakpoint. Just very quickly before the next section, the AA tactical shooter space have on Steam player counts that are slightly above and below Ghost Recon Wildlands and Breakpoint. What does that tell you? Even though Wildlands and Breakpoint are older games, and so too were the other tactical shooters we looked at, dumbing down your games to attain a high player count does not work in 2026. Creating challenging scenarios which enables your player to have addicting dopamine hikes does. Grey Zone Warfare is only in early alpha, and it's clear that players on Steam prefer this open world tactical shooter to Wildlands and Breakpoint. Heck, its all-time peak is higher than both games combined. Section 3. Ghost Recon would be more successful if it was more realistic and challenging. I've put together a rough estimate of a few games that I think would sit on a realism scale. This is just a rough estimate, please don't fight me over this. I think vanilla Ghost Recon Breakpoint is slightly more realistic than Wildlands, so I do accept fault on that one. But I'm making the correlation between games that are high on the realism gameplay side, have done well commercially, and attain a reasonable amount of daily players as seen on Steam. Red Dead Redemption 2 is extremely high on its level of realistic systems and mechanics, much higher than Wildlands and Breakpoint. Its storytelling is not accessible to the modern day gamer. It's extremely slow, but yet it's one of the most successful games there is. The Ghost Recon Breakpoint modding community have revived the game. We play this game now only because it's challenging, has realistic clothing gear, and it's more enjoyable. Ubisoft fails to understand this. Section 4. Tactical Sandbox versus Ubisoft Open Worlds. Ubisoft is sitting on gold with what they have with some of their franchises. In Far Cry 5, Ubisoft turned this open world game into an arcade sandbox. The campaign mode of the game was an open world, but the arcade editor turned it into a sandbox game. A lot of gamers fail to understand this critical difference, but it's very simple. Open world equals playing within the parameters the game is designed. A sandbox means the game provides you tools to modify your gaming experience to create the experiences you want. A sandbox game can have an open world or open world elements, and an open world might provide you freedom to play the game how you want that some may call sandbox in some cases. But distinctively, a sandbox is when the gaming studio or modding enables you to edit, modify, change the game however you want or any at all. Far Cry 5's editor and Battlefield Portal is an example of that. In Battlefield Portal, we have access to editing tools like SDK where you can modify the map, assets, and create game modes. Both games have this, and both games gives you a community section where you share maps, missions, and experiences. Ghost Recon 1 was a tactical sandbox, and so too was Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. But the Ubisoft formula overruled the true sandbox freedom we had in those early games with Ghost Recon Wildlands and Breakpoint. In an interview, Ubisoft CEO Yves said, "We think that gamers want more freedom," Guillemot said. "They also want games that they can play for quite a while because there are less games now. The open world genre gives us the possibility to offer different gamers different types of experiences. We think they are better adapted to the diversity of gamers that are in the market at the moment." If these are your true values, Yves, allow Ghost Recon to go back to the tactical sandbox greatness that it once was. Provide the franchise with the tools Battlefield 2042 and 6 have with Battlefield Portal. Allow us to modify the maps, create missions, modify AI behavior, and even create maps. Arma 3 is the greatest tactical sandbox of all time, retaining players in their 10s of thousands because of true tactical freedom, not the artificial freedom found in Wildlands and Breakpoint. Conclusion. So to wrap this all up, I want to outline what Ghost Recon ought to be and should be. Ghost Recon needs to return to being a squad-based tactical shooter. Now a fireteam has 4 men, but a squad has 6 to 12 men. Ghost Recon needs to increase its team AI in your squad to actually qualify in being a squad-based tactical shooter. Secondly, this franchise needs to return back to comprehensive squad controls. The simplified controls in the franchise has been watered down due to the console versions. Ready or Not and games like Operation Flashpoint show that you can have detailed squad controls. You should be able to give individual orders as well as to your Alpha team of 2, your Bravo team of 2, and your Charlie team of 2. Thirdly, connected to the previous point, bring back the TAC map because that is where you strategies and plan what your team AI are doing. We aren't dumb, we are capable of using a TAC map. Fourth, enemy engagement and rendering needs to improve. Engaging hostiles from 300 to 600 meters out is essential. Being spotted by enemy AI 800 meters to a mile away should be realistic. This means that your topography navigation has to be strategically thought. That's what a Recon operative does. This is Ghost Recon. Fifth, reintroducing permadeath and low time to kill is essential to increase tension and challenging gameplay. The high-stakes feeling of trying to keep your men alive is crucial in order to keep your players in a loop of excitement, reward, and develop their skill. You can introduce a system where your team are brought back once the mission is completed, or they're completely gone for the duration of the campaign. Either way, allow players to feel tension again, and this is the end of my open letter. To the developers at Ubisoft working on Ghost Recon Project Over, you have a responsibility to regain the respect and integrity Tom Clancy had entrusted in you. You can become a commercial success meanwhile upholding his values. I demonstrated that your contempt for our community is in complete disagreement with what actual players want. There are many Ghost Recon players who have left the franchise to play Arma, and they're waiting and dying for Arma 4 next year. I ask you this one question. What game are they going to play when Ghost Recon Project Over is released? Arma 4 or your game? If you execute well, it could be both. You gain some of the hardcore tactical fanbase, a fanbase which you once held. If you don't execute well, Ghost Recon will just be the casual game that people pick up and leave after a few hours. You're back to square one with your under 2,000 player count community, you decide. My name is Eagle Eyes. See you in the next one.
Thanks for watching Where Tactics Are Always Applied. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Stay frosty. Eagle eyes out. God bless.
Thank you for watching my open letter to Ubisoft and to the wider Ghost Recon community. This article was incredibly important to the spirit of my open letter, and I wanted to include it as a bonus with some gameplay footage of Arma 3. It's titled The Rise and Fall of Ubisoft's Tactical Shooter Legacy, Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six, and the Loss of a Distinctive Vision by Luca Buelli and released in April 1st, 2026. I'll link the articles in the description. Enjoy. Tom Clancy: The Ascent, Evolution, and Gradual Fall of one of gaming's most enduring brands. For decades, the name Tom Clancy has stood for far more than a video game license. It set the benchmark for realism, strategic depth, and narrative credibility, an example that few franchises have ever matched. In an era when games were still grappling with how to portray war, terrorism, and covert operations, games set in Clancy's universe carved out a distinct and instantly recognizable identity. Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, and Splinter Cell were never mere action games. They were tactical simulations, meticulously crafted for players willing to study maps, coordinate squads, choose precise equipment, and accept failure as an integral part of the experience. Over time, however, that core philosophy began to fade. Ubisoft, which in the early 2000s had harnessed the Clancy brand with unmatched expertise, gradually reshaped the franchises into more accessible, cinematic, and market-driven experiences. The result was a slow but unmistakable erosion of the tactical authenticity and identity that had defined these games, replaced by open-world systems, live service models, and competitive multiplayer, where strategic depth and realism were traded for immediacy and monetization. The Rainbow Six revolution, when Red Storm Entertainment, the studio founded by Tom Clancy himself, embarked on developing the original Rainbow Six, the shooter landscape was dominated by high-octane titles like Doom, Quake, and Unreal Tournament, games defined by speed, reflexes, and relentless chaos. Rainbow Six charted a radically different course. Rather than encouraging players to rush in and fire anything that moved, the game demanded patience. It asked players to slow down, observe, plan, and think. Before even stepping into the field, they were required to study the map, select their operators, map out routes, and carefully choose weapons, equipment, and entry points. Each member of the squad brought a specific skill set, and even the smallest planning error could turn a seemingly perfect operation into a total failure within seconds. The game's narrative further reinforced its sense of authenticity. Rainbow Six presented international biological threats, terrorist plots, hostage rescues, and plausible geopolitical scenarios, all in unmistakable Tom Clancy fashion. It delivered a level of tension rarely seen in games at the time. Open a door too quickly, choose the wrong operative, or advance from an exposed angle, and an entire mission could unravel in an instant. Rainbow Six was more than a commercial hit, it was a revolution. It established a new benchmark for tactical shooters and proved that audiences were ready for games that demanded patience, strategic thinking, and unwavering attention to detail. Ghost Recon and the rise of tactical shooters in modern gaming. If Rainbow Six redefined urban special operations, Ghost Recon expanded that vision to the scale of modern warfare. Released in 2001, it arguably marked the high point of Red Storm Entertainment's output. Building on the foundations of Rainbow Six, the studio translated its tactical philosophy into larger, more open, and far more complex battlefields. This time, the focus shifted away from hostage rescues in confined spaces to leading an elite unit across forests, mountains, deserts, and valleys. Set against a fictional conflict between Georgia and Russia, the game once again leaned into classic Tom Clancy territory, modern warfare, international tension, and grounded geopolitical crises. Ghost Recon broadened the scope of tactical freedom. Players could command up to 3 separate squads, assign independent routes, establish fields of fire, and time their attacks with precision, all while adapting to constantly shifting battlefield conditions. The game also introduced a progression system tied to combat experience, where surviving operatives grew more skilled and increasingly valuable over time. As a result, every loss carried real weight, deepening both emotional investment and tension. Larger, more ambitious, and more complex than Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon pushed the formula even further. Its expansions built on that foundation, introducing new environments and additional tactical possibilities. For many players, it remains the high watermark of the Tom Clancy franchise. Ghost Recon 2, between ambition and inevitable compromise. With Ghost Recon 2, the first real signs of change began to surface. As Ubisoft leaned further into the console market, the series was reshaped with accessibility in mind. The pacing quickened, planning was streamlined, and action moved to the forefront. The most significant addition was a third-person perspective, paired with the option to switch to first-person for more precise shooting. Technically, the game was impressive, particularly on the original Xbox, where it delivered visuals that stood out for the time. But the real issue ran deeper than commercial or creative considerations. It was philosophical. Ghost Recon 2 marked a shift away from a harsh, punishing military simulation toward a more immediate, action-driven tactical experience aimed at a broader audience. The cancellation of the PC version, despite being at an advanced stage of development, offered a further glimpse into Ubisoft's evolving direction. The priority was no longer to serve the series' core audience, but to streamline the experience. The slow evolution of the Rainbow Six series. The Rainbow Six series underwent an equally profound transformation. After its early installments, built around meticulous planning and realism, the franchise gradually shifted toward a more cinematic and accessible approach. This shift first became apparent with Rainbow Six Lockdown, reaching its peak with Rainbow Six Vegas and Vegas 2. The two Las Vegas installments are still widely regarded as standout entries in the franchise. Their cover systems worked seamlessly, pacing was finely tuned, and the narrative retained its depth and coherence. Ubisoft delivered modern, visually striking, and highly polished shooters, but this evolution came at a significant cost. The lengthy planning phases nearly vanished, along with detailed squad management. The gameplay became more immediate, faster paced, and much closer to the conventions of contemporary shooters. On one hand, this allowed Rainbow Six to reach a significantly wider audience. On the other, it alienated a core segment of its longtime fanbase who had always viewed the series as something far more than just another action shooter. Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, the last great entry in the series. While Rainbow Six drifted further from its roots, Ghost Recon achieved an almost flawless balance with Advanced Warfighter. Set in a near future that felt convincingly real, the game introduced cutting-edge military technologies, advanced HUDs, drones, optics, and command systems inspired by actual US Army prototypes. Advanced Warfighter's greatest triumph was modernizing the series without compromising its core. Controls became more intuitive and console-friendly, yet the tactical foundation remained central. Players still needed to coordinate squads, assess lines of fire, and manage the battlefield with precision. The narrative was gripping, enemies felt convincingly authentic, and the variety of missions maintained a constant sense of tension throughout the campaign. Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter and its sequel arguably stand as the pinnacle of the Ghost Recon franchise, a peak that makes the series' later decline all the more poignant. Rainbow Six Patriots and Siege, the beginning of the fall. The cancellation of Rainbow Six Patriots arguably marked the symbolic moment when Ubisoft abandoned the classic Tom Clancy approach. Hailed as the ultimate installment, early footage suggested a dark, mature, and provocative military thriller, one that confronted domestic terrorism, societal collapse, and the moral ambiguities of modern warfare. The sequences Ubisoft revealed left a lasting impression. The now iconic scene of a bridge-bound hostage rigged with explosives stands as one of the most striking and memorable images in Rainbow Six history. Patriots appeared poised to redefine the tactical shooter genre once again. Yet Ubisoft chose a different path. Internal development challenges and the industry's growing obsession with live service models led to the project's cancellation, paving the way for Rainbow Six Siege. Siege is undeniably a major success both commercially and culturally. It has built a fiercely competitive community and continually evolved through new operators, maps, and regular updates. But Siege is not Rainbow Six in the traditional sense. Narrative depth is nearly absent, the single-player component has been removed, and the focus has shifted entirely to competitive multiplayer. Tactical realism has been replaced by esports balancing, specialized operators, and a structure designed to sustain the game over time through seasons and microtransactions. For many longtime fans, this marked the point at which Rainbow Six stopped existing as a narrative-driven, tactical franchise. Ghost Recon Wildlands and Breakpoint, the downfall of a once great series. While Rainbow Six gradually succumbed to the live service model, Ghost Recon faced an even deeper crisis, the near-total loss of its identity. Following the success of Advanced Warfighter, Ubisoft experimented with Future Soldier, attempting to blend action, stealth, and tactical gameplay. Yet, despite its promising foundations, the end result was far from remarkable. The decline deepened with Wildlands and Breakpoint. Ubisoft applied its open-world formula to the franchise, introducing sprawling maps, numerous side missions, and a gameplay formula designed to sustain dozens of hours. The issue was not the quality of the games themselves, but that Ghost Recon had stopped feeling like Ghost Recon. Wildlands retained at least a measure of coherence, largely due to its Bolivian setting and the ongoing conflict against the cartels. Breakpoint, by contrast, felt fragmented and uncertain, a game struggling to define itself, caught between tactical shooter, survival mechanics, RPG progression, and live service design. The addition of loot systems, gear progression, and online-centric gameplay marked the franchise's definitive departure from its original roots. Does the Tom Clancy brand still have a future? Despite everything, the Tom Clancy brand still carries tremendous weight. Splinter Cell remains one of the most cherished stealth franchises in gaming history, with Chaos Theory still celebrated as a benchmark of the genre. Even television adaptations, such as Jack Ryan, prove that Clancy's universe continues to captivate audiences. The recent closure of Red Storm Entertainment, however, was a major setback. The studio that helped define the very identity of Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon no longer exists, making a return to the series' roots increasingly difficult. Yet a path to redemption still exists. Ubisoft could restore the franchise's prestige through faithful remakes of the original Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon, or by creating new, tightly focused experiences that stay true to the series' core spirit. The Tom Clancy brand does not need to chase every industry trend. It does not need battle passes, sprawling open worlds, or live service frameworks built solely for monetization. What it truly needs is to reclaim its identity, because the true appeal of these games was never measured in the sheer quantity of content or hours played. Their power lay in the tension of opening a door, knowing a single mistake could cost an entire squad their lives. It lay in the careful, meticulous planning of a seemingly impossible mission. It lay in inhabiting a world that felt believable, unforgiving, and profoundly realistic. Ubisoft still has one final opportunity to preserve this legacy. The time increasingly appears to be running out.